So it's a snowy day here in New York. I had plans to make a kind of cinematic vlog this week about our putting together of the movie 5 Stars, the flick 5 Stars, which will be our first project for Unprecious Studios. Plans don't always go to plan. As I'm learning, the prospect of actually making something worth watching on YouTube takes a long time, or takes longer than I thought it would. So I thought I would just give a quick update today. The idea for 5 Stars came about as just this idea of we need to make a movie. We need to make a flick to prove that we can do it and to basically prove out the concept that we can make things that are fast and that are cheap and that are good. So to break that down fast, we said, okay, we're gonna see what kind of flick we can make in 3 months. And I'm not even shitting you, 3 months from the idea to the script to the production to the screening, 3 total months. We also want to do a movie that we can make for as close to $0 as humanly possible. Which again, is kind of a bonkers idea, but people do it all the time. And you know, I mean, I've been in bands, musicians think nothing of writing songs, recording the songs in their home studios, whatever, even like mastering them by themselves, putting up on Spotify or whatever, or in the old days, like pressing CDs or vinyl with a minimum expenditure without having someone pay for it, without having a record label or anything, right? Novelists think nothing of typing away for months and months and months and creating a novel, and you know, theater artists think nothing of doing that. So why are film artists different? Like, why do we insist that no, we need to have $1 million in the bank to make this movie? It's because we grow up with the sense that movies have to be this certain precious, beautiful cinematic thing, or else they're not worth anything. And I have always rejected that, but now with Unprecious Studios, we want to actually go about proving a viable path for low-budget independent films. So anyway, we knew we had to make a movie that was fast and that was cheap, that was also good. So where the cheap comes in and the fast comes in is how can we make this movie in 3 months, right? Which happens to be, by the way, winter in New York City, February. It's January now, but January, February, March. Really cold, so we know we don't really want to be outside. And, you know, we also don't want to use up every favor that we have because we're going to need a lot of them. So we know we needed to make this movie fast and cheap and good, and we have 3 months in which to do it. And so we decided we also don't want to use up every location favor that we might possibly have. So what do we have access to that's warm? And we decided we were going to make a movie set entirely in a car. From that came the idea of an Uber movie, which is a concept I kind of had floating around in my head. I did a little research. There's been some other movie and taxi, you know, movies and series and stuff set in Ubers and taxis. So not necessarily a completely original idea. So then how do we make it good? And the concept of 5 Stars is it's a movie about the experience of an Uber driver. So like the gig economy, right? But it's also a movie about the decline of America and the American dream and late stage capitalism, which seems to be like kind of everything I'm writing about these days anyway. And it also has some mystic elements, some mysticism and some supernatural elements and so forth. So think about it like a little bit of a mix of like a Jim Jarmusch flick, you know, maybe even like a David Lynch flick mixed in there. Anyway, I will be putting together a longer vlog piece on this. But, you know, for today, I just wanted to kind of put a little bit of a discussion of what we're thinking and where we're going. I mean, technically we started it in the middle of December, but I'm not counting that because then Christmas happened and I had some family stuff happen and end of the year and no one's actually doing anything. So it's a stupid idea to start a project December 15th. So we're gonna say that we started it January 1st. So we're about 3 weeks in, and it's going pretty well. We've got a group of people on board who are really interesting content creators of their own, who I'll be announcing in the coming weeks. Each of them kind of stepping in to play a writer in this Uber and to write their own sections. We're going to be releasing it as a feature film and I think also a serialized version. The writing is about halfway done. I would like the writing to be going a little bit quicker, but you know, one thing about adulthood is it just keeps getting in the damn way. And you know, there's work to do. There's a baby to raise. I got a little baby. Okay, so right now I'm headed to Best Buy only because it's the only place kind of right. Well, actually, Adorama is right around me too, but I want to look at cameras because one of the things that we wanted to test is whether this movie could be shot entirely on GoPro, like a feature film shot on GoPro. That's not like an action movie, by the way. It's a talking movie. Might be a really, really very stupid idea, but we wanted to test it out and see. Okay, so Best Buy was a dud, so we are going to Adorama. Okay, and I'm walking out of Adorama with one of these, so we will see. I mean, it looks cool. I'm gonna guess the sensor might be too small for an entire feature film, but we're gonna try it and see if it'll work for some shots. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming slowly, but I'm pleased with where it is. Pretty soon, actually tonight, we're gonna do a test for cameras again because we are employing a really interesting new filming style to get this movie. 90% of this movie, like I said, takes place in the car. So now we are in the thick of figuring out who's gonna be involved, who's gonna be in it, what the script is gonna be, and we'll start shooting probably right at the end of January and the first several weeks of February. So stay tuned, it's gonna be awesome.